A word of warning, this podcast explores graphic and disturbing stories and includes some strong language. It therefore may not be suitable for our young listeners or other folks who may find it disturbing. Hello, and welcome to True Crime Daily, the podcast covering high-profile and under-the-radar cases from across the country every week. I'm your host, Ana Garcia. We are recording this on Wednesday, January 26, 2022. We are being joined today by criminal defense attorney Alison Triessl, who is a friend of the show and a friend of mine. Welcome back, Alison.
Thank you so much for having me. I love doing your show, and you picked some great cases to discuss, so I'm thrilled.
They're very, very different from each other, and they're both very important cases. So Here's what we're looking at. A Florida man allegedly attacked a jogger in his neighborhood this month, and he used a rubber mallet, a belt from a bathrobe, and a can of body spray, like a deodorant. All of this was for his goal in order to grab the man and keep him in his closet for his own sexual gratification. And as crazy as that is, the 911 call is why we're going to listen to this case. But first, did the police in Bridgeport, Connecticut, mishandle the suspicious death of a young woman who was found dead in her apartment after a night with a man that she met on a dating app? He claims he woke up and she was just dead. As horrific as all of that is already, there is so much more to this case, Alison. 23-year-old Lauren Smith Fields. She's a young African-American woman, was found dead in her apartment on December 12th. The man that she was last seen with is an older white man. And for a month now, this case has been stalled. Lauren's family has been so frustrated. They say they're going to sue the police because they are accusing the police of being racially insensitive, of being sloppy with the evidence, slow to investigate. And this, to me, is honestly among one of the worst things that they are accused of doing. They never contacted Lauren's family to tell them that she had died. That, to me, is horrific.
They found a note on her door. The police, there are problems from the get-go. But the idea that her next of kin was notified by a note on the door to call the landlord, is outrageous. It's so insensitive and cold and awful.
Yes.
And by the way, it's emblematic of how they saw this case.
Yes.
It was a nothing.
Right. They treated her with no regard. There was no humanity there because think about it. Lauren's mom hadn't heard from her in like a day and a half. And so mom is like, what the heck is going on? She goes to Lauren's apartment and that's where she sees this note on the door. If you're looking for Lauren, call this number. Can you imagine? Now, here's the thing. It's not like the woman was found unidentified somewhere, random in a forest. She was found in the apartment in which she lives and rents.
They took her passport and one quick Google search of her, she was actually like a fairly well-known social media influencer. So it would not have been hard. And you don't have to be a police officer to contact the parents, although that probably would have made the job a lot easier. I mean, any armchair sleuth could have done 3 searches and found out who her mom is, who her brother is. They never did that. Never.
Horrible. It's so horrible. And there's no excuse when you are a police department, police officers, investigators. It would take them 2 seconds to figure out who she is related to. It's absolutely inexcusable.
If nothing else comes from this case, Ana, I'm hoping that there will be a sweeping policy change that you must legally make every effort you can to inform the next of kin immediately.
And that's what her family is doing. In addition to taking legal action against the police department, they also are working with Connecticut lawmakers to change the law to say, you know what, if this happens, you must contact next of kin. I mean, it's insane. If you're in a car accident, they can find you, right? Even when they find you jogging, they can. But this woman is in her own freaking house.
And this will be a perfect segue into the actual facts of the case. But if for no other reason, okay, forget being sensitive and as part of your investigatory efforts, how about call the family and find out a little bit about who this person is?
What was going on in her life? Exactly.
Right, because if in fact it is a drug overdose, why don't you find out from the family? Because this man really didn't know her. He had met her this was the third day. This is the third day. Find out from her family if she has a history of drug use before you quickly declare that it's an overdose.
Well, actually, Alison, the police released this week, they said it was an accidental death. They did list all the drugs in her system, and then they also opened a criminal investigation. So how are we supposed to interpret that? They never used the word overdose.
Okay, so here's what's interesting. And obviously, I think we need to give them a bit of the facts of how she was found and how,
right.
How the police came upon the scene. But there's certain things that are very fundamental when it comes to police investigation. And whether you're white or you're black or you're brown, the last person to see somebody always should be considered a person of interest until they are ruled out. That didn't.
Well, apparently it sounds from the family that they ruled him out immediately. Hey, he's a nice guy. So that's actually what the family says. They were told, oh, he's a nice guy. Don't worry about him. Well, okay, nice has nothing to do with it. If you're telling me that you've investigated the case, you've investigated the man, and you don't believe he had anything to do with it, it's a very different statement than to say, oh, he's a nice guy. Don't worry about it. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. One sounds a little too country clubbish. And the other one sounds like we investigated, and we have these facts. So let's get into the case because much is changing this week. And I think the reason things are changing in Lauren's investigation is because her family has been so vocal about this, as they should be. This is a travesty. This is it's injustice for Lauren.
And when you speak out and you put cases like this under the microscope, people listen, and it's that pressure. It's the pressure from social media. It's the pressure from the family that sometimes is needed to get an investigation rolling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I call it the outraged chorus. When we all speak up in our own way, however it is we do, it has an energy to it. And the louder and stronger and bigger that gets, it has more energy and a greater effect. And I do believe that our voices are meaningful, right? Okay. So lots going on. And there are a lot of details. So on Tuesday of this week, the medical examiner ruled that the cause of death was accidental and that the ME said her death was caused by acute intoxication due to the combined effects of fentanyl, promethazine, hydroxyzine, and alcohol. Two of the drugs are prescription antihistamines, which can cause sedation. Fentanyl, of course, is a synthetic opioid, highly dangerous, very addictive, and can cause respiratory distress, death when taken in high doses, or if mixed with other drugs and alcohol. So again, they're calling it acute intoxication. Now also on Tuesday of this week, the Bridgeport police announced it is now a criminal investigation. What I'm trying to figure out, Alison, how is this not a criminal investigation a month ago when Lauren was found dead in her bed?
Well, I mean, and I'm sure you'll walk through the facts with people, but this woman, this healthy young woman, is found dead in her bed. The police never secure the scene. They never take any evidence in to have it analyzed. I mean, so from the beginning, this was a bungled investigation, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So now after the ME's report, and now that it's been reclassified as a criminal investigation, the Bridgeport Police Department has brought in the narcotics and the Vice Division to investigate. And also the DEA is now becoming involved. And the mayor of Bridgeport has referred this case to Internal Affairs for the insensitive handling of the case, the way Lauren's family was treated. And that's important because that sets the tone for this whole thing, as you said. How they treated Lauren, how they treated her family is how they saw this case from the beginning.
By the way, at some point, a detective told the family to stop calling them.
Yes. This is that exactly. The brother said that he kept calling and calling. And then the cop finally said, would you stop calling me? According to the family, we've already checked out the guy. He's a nice man. Stop calling me. No, that is not how you deal with the survivors and victims of a crime.
Anna, I am currently representing victims in a criminal case. And not only has the prosecutor and the police done everything they can to support this family, they have welcomed their calls. They have welcomed their appearance at every single court appearance. They've been totally transparent. And that's really what you expect of a system, is to treat people with humanity and decency. And of course you have time for them. Of course you have time for them.
Of course you do. And if you have nothing to respond, then you just say, we're still working on it. We're really sorry. We really were working on it. But just don't give, useless tidbits that are just, an insult. All right. So let's get into this. Okay. Because how she died and when she died and the circumstances here, to me, are somewhat suspicious. Okay. So there's a lot police have to answer for here. So let's get into the details here and what the family says the police missed. So police say that they have interviewed the man that Lauren met on Bumble, and he is the one who called 911. Now, what we have is his version of events, because remember, he's the only one who's been interviewed. So keep that in mind as we go through what police and published reports have said. His version of events, according to the reporting of CBS, the Daily Mail, Rolling Stone, is that after he and Lauren connected on Bumble, he says that she asked him for $40 to go get a manicure before he came over to his place. They were going to do shots of tequila and watch a movie. He says that at some point in the evening, she became ill, went into the bathroom and threw up, but they somehow kept the night going. They drank, they ate, they played games, they watched a movie. That's, again, his description. He claims that Lauren got a text from her brother and that she then went outside to meet him and then went into the bathroom for about 10 to 15 minutes. The man claims that he thought that was kind of odd. Not if you're not feeling well. Then, according to him, they finished watching a movie. She passed out on the couch, and then he carried her to her bed, and he and she slept in the bed. Okay. Now, this is his timeline. He says he woke up at 3 a.m. to pee. She was snoring. He then says he woke up at 6:30 a.m. She was on her side and there was blood coming out of her nose. She wasn't breathing, and he called 911. Those are the facts as he has presented them.
Okay. So let me just address some of the facts. Okay. It's very odd to me that you don't know somebody and the first thing you say is, can you give me $40 to get my nails done? That's strange in and of itself. And then later the family would report that she had just gotten her nails done and that they actually didn't have to do anything for her nails for the funeral. Okay. So that's an odd statement.
Yes.
That a woman would ask someone, please pay for my nails. We haven't even met in person. Okay. He says that early in the night, pretty early in the night, she threw up. She doesn't even know her. She's that intoxicated that she's throwing up and somehow he's going to stick around for the date. I mean, even that seems very odd to me. It's a very odd thing that someone would, a couple hours into this date, they're throwing up and then they rally and then they're somehow okay. Mm-hmm. And then the text message is important because the brother has proof. The man says that she received a text from her brother. And the brother said, well, I had not texted her I hadn't texted her since December 4th. And this was December 11th. He said, I did call her and I asked her to come downstairs and I gave her some clothes or something, or she gave me some clothes or something like that. But it's a very specific thing that the man said about this text. And according to the brother, he has irrefutable evidence that he didn't send her a text.
Right.
So he's very specific about it. So there's a couple things that are already inconsistent. And then there's this idea that somehow he slept next to her.
Right.
Anna, is that weird?
Oh, I mean, first of all, so you don't really know her. You carry her into the bed. You sleep next to her, even though she is either asleep or passed out, which is kind of weird and creepy. And then you know that she's alive. And then all of a sudden she's got blood coming out of her nose and she's dead.
Okay.
Right. I mean, what?
If nothing else, all of those things needed to be investigated. They needed to be each of those points needed to be questioned. The man needed to be questioned. And then you start sort of piecing together, if they would have reached out to the family, they would have known about the nails. They would have known about the text. They would have known that she, according to the brother, she's not a drug user.
Yes. And two of the drugs that were found in her system are prescription drugs that are used as antihistamines and for allergic reactions. Now, we have no idea what was prescribed, what was not prescribed, but there was that. And then, I mean, I think honestly, the most troubling is the fentanyl. Like, was the fentanyl something that was accidentally, meaning intentionally laced, and that she took and didn't know? Because fentanyl is so dangerous. And one of the tragedies and crises we have is this lacing of other drugs with fentanyl without the user knowing.
And the problem here is, upon arriving at the scene, they didn't secure the scene. What did they take? They took her passport, her wallet,
her phone.
But let me tell you what they did not take. Let me tell you what 2 weeks later, finally, crime scene investigators do come over 2 weeks later. And what they do take is bloody sheets, a condom.
A used condom. That was in the trash, the family says. By
the way, in the police report, there's no mention that they had sexual relations, right? That he doesn't say a word about that. That would have been one of the first questions I asked him. And I'd ask him to submit to a DNA sample. So they find these bloody sheets, a used condom, lube, a pill, and some glasses. I want those glasses tested to see if there is a combination of drugs, including fentanyl, that was mashed up and put in that tequila. I want to know those things.
Mm-hmm.
That's so important to an investigation. This is fundamental investigation 101. Secure the scene.
Yeah. And, every death, any police department in this country will tell you the same thing. When you walk upon a scene where someone is dead, rule number one, you treat it as a homicide until you can prove it otherwise. You don't treat it as anything else until you're absolutely certain and have the facts in. So that was not the case here. And here's what troubles me, because if the scene was not properly processed and evidence was not properly either gathered or preserved, you are now fundamentally hurting yourself as far as figuring out what happened. And if anyone should ever be charged in this, we already have set the bar so low that any defense attorney is going to say, please, you cannot tell me that any of this DNA is any good because y'all botched it from the beginning.
2 weeks go by. 2 weeks go by. Do you know how many people walked in and out of that place? Do you know how many people had access to those glasses, to the trash bin, to the sheets? I mean, that is you always worry about contamination of evidence. You absolutely worry about it. But here we know for certain that it was there for the police's taking. It was there for them to take and to secure and to analyze, and nothing happened for weeks.
Mm-hmm.
When the family finally called the police, okay, and they wanted to meet the police at her home, they waited 5 hours for the police to arrive. Anna, is that shameful?
Yes, it is absolutely. It's beyond shameful. It just is so upsetting and disturbing. And here's the thing, Alison, look, we do not know yet what happened, but clearly the police haven't done anything to help us figure that out, at least not yet. And that is not helpful to anyone. We have no idea what role, if any, her date had to do with any of this. So he hasn't been charged with anything. We can't say that he is the cause of her death.
But we can't say he's not.
Correct.
He's not.
We can't just say, oh, he's a nice guy. Don't worry about it. He's a nice guy. This is what they said to the family.
And in the history of investigating cases, there is no way that you can immediately conclude that he is not a person of interest in this case.
Correct.
It's a one-sided story when the other person is dead. Mm-hmm. So it's up to the police to figure out what truly went on.
So the family has said that they're hiring their own private investigator and that they are also paying for their own independent autopsy, which I think, given what has happened so far, is a very good idea.
Agreed.
Because they need answers, and they need to know that the answers they're getting are based on some kind of facts and evidence, not just my gut reaction that the guy's a nice guy. And by the way, the officer who allegedly said that to the family has been pulled off this case. The one who said he's nice and don't call me anymore. Yes.
Wait a minute. It's even more bizarre than that. So he was replaced, and the second detective that's now assigned to the case, according to the family, said, oh, he messed up here. Used an expletive to describe the guy, and was very flippant about the fact that this guy had really done something wrong, that he had not done the job. And now he, of course, there's problems with the family and the new detective as well. They're asking that the case be turned over to the state police because they don't, frankly, trust the job that the local police have done.
Yeah. Well, trust has been broken here without question. And right. The family, at the very least, the family has been treated horribly. And this has definitely been botched from the beginning. And what part race played into this is something that's going to have to be figured out. But it certainly doesn't look good now, does it?
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't
look good at all. No,
it doesn't. No, it absolutely does not.
And by the way, it may very well be, unfortunately, that it is an accidental overdose. It may very well be that, Anna. But cases like this have to be thoroughly investigated. And I think what the outrage here is, whether race was a factor, she's Black, the man is white, whether indifference is the factor, this can't happen. I'm reminded of the case of Kristen Smart from San Luis Obispo case where Paul Flores, now 25 years later, has been arrested, because that initial part of the investigation is so crucial.
Yeah.
And if you think about the Kristen Smart case and compare it to this, the police literally did nothing for days. They didn't secure the scene. They didn't, and something like this. I mean, there's a reason why shows like The First 48 or that initial precious time is where a lot of these cases get solved.
Yeah. Yeah. It really is stunning. And the family has suffered tremendously. They're not only grieving the loss of their beautiful Lauren, but on top of it is the injury of the insensitive way in which they were told or found out, really, and the insensitive way in which they have been told how the case is going. So the one thing I very much appreciate about Lauren's family is this sense of that they are trying to make sure that this doesn't happen to another family. The fact that they want the law changed, that even though they're still grieving, even though they're still looking for answers, they're just saying, we're not standing for this because this isn't right. As humans, this is wrong.
They are not going to be silenced, and good for them, because the more they speak out, the more attention this case gets, the more this case deserves to have a national presence. This woman deserves that policies, specifically letting notification of family members. This is the case where I hope there'll be some real change. Mm-hmm. Her death will not be in vain.
Yeah. Now, the app Bumble has reached out to the family. According to the family's attorney, they want to show their support, and they've offered to create a charity in Lauren's name. And then, just to give you perspective here on the continued grieving, literally it was just a few days ago on January 23rd. That would have been Lauren's 24th birthday. So on top of everything else that the family's dealing with, now here is this milestone in which they still don't know what happened.
And not only that, she had these wonderful future plans where she had planned a trip to go somewhere wonderful with her grandmother.
To Greece? Yes.
It's just horrific. It's just so sad.
It is. And, when you see the photos, if you're watching, I mean, she just really is a beautiful, beautiful woman. I mean, she's stunning.
Oh, incredible.
Obviously, Bridgeport police are getting a lot of comments and a lot of pressure from the public. And I think that's important. So a lot of movement this week, a lot of movement. I think we should be getting some more answers shortly because all eyes are on them. And I agree with you. This should be moved out of their jurisdiction and sent to the Connecticut State Police at this point.
Yeah, a fresh set of eyes, for sure. A fresh set of eyes. Start anew. And, I don't know how objective Bridgeport can be now at this point, right? I think that someone else needs to come on in, a new agency that can look at this case literally from the very beginning and do all the things that should have been done initially. Mm-hmm. Question the nails, question the text, analyze the bloody sheets, hopefully analyze those glasses. Why didn't this guy, if in fact it's a used condom, did they have sexual relations?
Was it someone else? Was someone else in the apartment?
Right. And according to him, she is so drunk that she's so intoxicated, he's got to carry her into the bedroom.
The brother said that when she stepped outside to deliver a basket of clothes or something is what he said he was picking up. He said that as far as he was concerned, she didn't seem intoxicated at all because he would have been concerned. So she seemed okay and lucid. And also he said he had no idea that there was a man in the apartment. Lauren had not indicated that. Now, okay, brothers and sisters don't necessarily, you don't have to share all your business when you're adults and you got something going on, right? I get that. But I think that that's important. I think it's very important that the brother is giving you a timestamp, a proof of life, and what her condition was.
Anna, if the woman is so intoxicated that she's throwing up and that she needs to be carried to the bedroom, if she stumbles out to see her brother, he's going to say, what is going on? What's wrong with you?
Exactly. So we, of course, are going to watch this case because hopefully there's going to be a real investigation. And before we move on to our next case, here is a quick word from our sponsor. It's a new year, and for a lot of people, that means it's time for New Year's resolutions. Whether yours is learning to cook or ordering less takeout or prioritizing your wellness, HelloFresh is here to help with endless options to make cooking at home easy and enjoyable. HelloFresh delivers pre-portioned ingredients to your door, including farm fresh produce that arrives within a week, so you get the convenience without skimping on the quality. You can also save time with HelloFresh because meals are ready in about 30 minutes, but they also have quick and easy meals, which include 20-minute recipes with low prep and easy cleanup options. I've got to tell you, when they say that the produce is fresh, I have seen it. The most beautiful potatoes, carrots, and onions, giant peppers, and the pork chops. Very impressed with the pork chops. In fact, I don't usually even order pork chops or even buy them in the grocery, but these were really beautiful. So go to HelloFresh.com/TCD16 and use the code TCD16, that's for True Crime Daily, for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. That's HelloFresh.com/TCD16. Don't forget to use the code TCD16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. Alison, our next case is from Cocoa, Florida. I just love saying that, which is about an hour east of Orlando. This case caught my attention really because of the 911 call. It's like nothing I've ever heard before. Usually, and the person who made the call is the survivor of the attack. And when you hear these 911 calls, you get a lot of facts from it, but you also get the state of mind, the urgency, all of this. And many times 911 calls are very dramatic. This one is different because it is so calm. The survivor here, the man who was attacked, is not only unbelievably calm. While he is calling on the phone with 911, he's restraining the man he says attacked him.
Wait, Anna, you know how police always say, well, we knew they were lying because there were crocodile tears. They were so hysterical. It was so over the top that we questioned their sincerity, and that's why they became a person of interest for us. And then you have this guy. It's like he's lounging on the beach in Mexico, having a margarita. I've never seen anything like it. He literally says, yes, I'll be patient. I'll wait. Mm-hmm. Understood. Thanks so much. I've got this guy here. He tried to choke me.
Right.
I'm envisioning this like octopus thing happening where he's got one hand on the guy's neck.
Yep.
Another hand on one of his body parts. And then somehow he's making this phone call to the police. And part of it, I'm sure, was just sort of adrenaline, right? Mm-hmm. An adrenaline. Mm-hmm. I want this guy in an emergency all day, every day.
Oh, yeah. He needs to be my block captain, right? For any emergency in the neighborhood.
I sort of got a sense that he was, I don't know, but I got a sense that he was like, had some law enforcement background.
He had martial arts training. He had that. And we are going to play the 911 clip for you. We're going to play it for you because you need to hear this for yourself, and it will tell you why this is such an extraordinary case. And then we'll also tell you about the facts. So you're going to hear the clip. So we want to give you a little bit more of the background and the details so you can really appreciate how calm he is. So this is a guy who went jogging and then he was attacked from behind. And the person who has been charged with attacking him is an 18-year-old man named Logan Smith. And not only his plan, he ultimately, according to police, tells them that he planned to capture the man, like not just attack him, but capture him and then drag him home and keep him in a closet.
Kill him.
Okay. Oh, right. He was going to kill him. Excuse me. I forgot that detail.
On like some tarp in between two cars in his driveway.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
This is just insanity. All right. So the Brevard County Sheriff's Department said that Smith was planning to kill the man and keep his body in a closet to fulfill his sexual fantasies. Okay. But you have to listen to the plan and the stuff that the man had with him, this Logan Smith, to then even more fully appreciate the 911 call that we're going to play for you. Okay. So here is his arsenal, the 18-year-old's arsenal. Clearly, he's got a screw loose here. Logan Smith prepared for the attack by collecting a rubber mallet. When's the last time anyone has used a rubber mallet in a crime?
Yeah, no, by the way, my 10-year-old would plan a better crime than this guy.
Yes. No doubt. All right. So
Yeah.
wait, it gets better. So you've got the rubber mallet, then the belt. Okay. The cloth belt from a bathrobe.
Bathrobe. Correct.
Very specific. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I suppose yes. All right. But that's what he had. And wait, and then an aerosol can of body spray, a deodorant body spray. Axe, I guess, is the brand.
Right. So I was thinking, was the Axe? I mean, he said he was going to blind the guy with it. So he was going to blind it by.
Oh, yes.
But part of me was thinking, well, was that part of his sexual fantasy to spray the guy with body spray? I mean, it's the most preposterous thing I've ever heard in my life.
Right. I mean, you could have just used Windex. I mean,
he literally went into, his medicine cabinet and grabs Axe body spray. It's bizarre.
Very, very, very.
By the way, Anna,
yes.
He had been watching this guy's jogging routine for 6 weeks. So
crazy.
So in 6 weeks, this is the best plan he could come up with.
Yes. That is a very good point. That is a very good point. So I know you're dying to hear the 911 clip, but I want to tell you more of what he tells the police about his plan, because you will then truly get this. So WOFL TV in Orlando is citing from the arrest affidavit. Quote, the defendant walked directly across the street where he hid behind a light pole. He placed the mallet and the Axe aerosol can on the ground next to him while he waited for the victim to come running down the street. The victim here did this all the time. This was his routine. The defendant waited for the victim to run past the light pole and then proceeded to run after him. And then he took the robe, the belt from the robe, and put it over his head, trying to choke him. This is insanity.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually quite dangerous. I mean, I thought about it.
Oh my God.
I mean, how terrified would you be? Awful.
You just wouldn't know what was going on. Now, the jogger says that he has martial arts skills and he was quickly able to disarm the man and hold him down while he was not seriously injured. The jogger, he did have visible, marks around his neck. And the jogger said that he had his earplugs in and was listening to music. And all of a sudden he felt something come from out of nowhere. Now we're going to play the 911 tape for you.
And by the way, thank goodness nothing happened physically to the guy. I mean, we're making light of it given this harebrained, ridiculous plan. But thankfully, the jogger's fine.
Oh, absolutely. Only in hindsight can we say that this was an insane plan. But of course, he could have absolutely hurt someone that was not as well prepared as this jogger was. So here's the 911 tape.
It looks like you're at Batavia Avenue. Does that sound familiar?
Actually, it does.
Okay.
The man just tried to assault me from behind, choke me out.
Okay, so male tried to choke you from the back?
Yes, I've got him detained on the ground right now. I need the cops to my location immediately.
Okay, stay on the line with me, okay? I'm going to get them out there, okay?
Please, do.
Does he have any weapons on him?
He tried to choke me out with what looks like a tie or a piece of rope.
Okay. And he's not fighting with you now, though, correct? He's not fighting?
Not right now,
okay.
no. I have him subdued with a grip on his throat and his hands.
Okay, so you have your hands around his throat?
One hand around his throat, the other one on his hand. He's currently conscious and breathing. He's not resisting currently, but again, I also have my hand around his neck.
Not a problem.
You made a very good decision, sir.
You okay?
Hi! He tried to choke me out from behind. You got him?
Okay. All right. We can go ahead and disconnect, sir. Thank you very much.
So, Alison, what I'm amazed at here is not only how calm he was, but how he, the dispatch is asking, can you see the police yet? Can you see them? He's like, no. And then when he does see them, he's like waving them, flagging them down. And I do love the fact that he turned to his attacker and said, you made a very dumb decision.
It's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it is. And thank God he was not injured. And, we're not making light of that. I mean, this is a ridiculous plan that this guy came up with, but someone who was not as well prepared as this jogger not only could have been seriously injured, this guy actually could have gotten away with it.
This could have ended so differently and so tragically. And by the way, I want to talk about that. Logan Smith's mother has a boyfriend, and the boyfriend spoke to reporters, because it's always fascinating to me. How does somebody become this person? And I think the listeners will agree. We all, if you have children, you wonder what happened in that house. How does this happen? He's 18 years old. He's living at home. The boyfriend said,
the mother's boyfriend
said, he's quiet. He is a bit of a loner. He goes to the movies by himself. Oh, we did not add that he came up with this plan, that Logan came up with this plan because he was influenced after watching the movie Scream. Mm-hmm. The movie Scream motivated him. Okay.
Yeah, let's blame the movie Scream on this ridiculous plot of Logan's.
Right. And then this neighbor told a reporter that oftentimes really late at night, they'd see Logan just sort of laying on a tarp on the ground in front of his house for long periods of time. So my question is, and always, when I hear cases like this, shouldn't there have been some intervention? There were signs that he was off.
Well, there were signs that he was clearly struggling with some form of a mental illness. It appears. Yeah. We don't know. It appears. The boyfriend of the mother also said that he was very deeply affected by the passing of his father, something like 5 years earlier. So we would have been a teenager at the time.
Get him help. Help.
Right. And we don't know. What we don't know is whether he was receiving any help. We have no idea of what was going on in that household. We have no idea what Logan was struggling with. But Anna,
yes, it clearly was not enough.
Oh, without question, Alison.
I will say that in doing this kind of law and dealing with mentally ill people for, over 2 decades, you need to intervene. When you see when the person has delusions that you're aware of, when the person is totally isolated, when the person really doesn't have any other human contact, you got to do something, because that's a recipe for disaster. It is. Mm-hmm. It's a powder keg waiting.
Yeah. I also find it interesting, Alison, that according to the sheriff's department, Logan just came clean and told them everything, the whole plot, everything, that he didn't hesitate.
An 18-year-old brain. I don't find that strange. I mean, he's 18 years old. It was probably pretty intimidating to be in an interrogation room. And he may have been, fairly excited to share his plans with them.
Mm-hmm. Do you find it interesting? I didn't get the sense from listening to the 911 call that Logan was fighting back.
No resistance at all. You listen to the tape. He's not saying, buddy, calm down. He's not saying,
let go of me. Nothing. Right. Nor do we get the sense that he's fighting the jogger, and that because the jogger is just so calm, able to talk and hold his neck down and hold his other arm down. Yeah.
Bizarre.
Very, very, very bizarre.
I would hope, by the way, if faced with something so scary in an emergency like this, I could have half my wits about me the way this guy did. It's unbelievable.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And now Logan Smith has been charged with attempted murder, and he's being held without bond, and he's scheduled to appear in court next month, February 10th. I have a feeling we'll learn a lot more about what was going on with Logan then.
Correct.
It is time for our comment section. These are the cases you all are talking about on social media. And here's our producer, Owen Michael.
Hello, Anna. Hello, Alison. Happy Wednesday. Let's see. I've got a good one this week. Last week, police responded to a disturbance call at a Waffle House.
Officers arrived. The Waffle House. Who
doesn't love the Waffle House? Oh my
God, I love the Waffle House.
They treat you so well on your birthday. Unbelievable.
So
for
good.
Our listeners and our viewers, not everybody gets to enjoy Waffle Houses across the country, but they are prevalent in the South, and it will be a factor in the story. Officers
and they're open all the time, all the time.
Oh, that's part of the charm for sure.
Oh my God! After a crime shoot, it'd be like 1, 2 in the morning. You're in the middle of nowhere. You're starving. Waffle House. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Owen.
And I went with my grandmother, who was from Mississippi, and we went at we'd gone gambling at the casinos, and it was like 2 in the morning, and everybody knew her at the Waffle House. Owen, is that horrible?
That's not that. That's life goals for me. Knew her. I would love that. I would love if my local restaurant knew me by name like that.
It's great.
Well, this particular location, officers arrived at this restaurant to respond to this disturbance call. They found a 28-year-old man allegedly yelling at the staff about his bacon. Apparently, he was still going by the time the officers arrived. Quote, "You better cook the effing bacon right," according to police. He was reportedly shirtless and insulting the employees. Police said the suspect refused to come outside. He allegedly resisted arrest until, of course, they threatened him with a taser. He was arrested and booked on charges of disorderly intoxication, assault, and resisting arrest. And he was held in the local jail in Lee County in Florida. Jim R. said, should have ordered sausage.
Yeah.
Rob C. says, it is bacon. I don't blame him. Jeffrey D. says, yeah, I can understand his dilemma. Michael P. says, was the cook arrested too?
That's funny.
I think the cook is innocent here, but
absolutely innocent.
Jose F. says the police grilled him when they arrived.
Oh, funny.
Got to drop a pun in there. And Carl said Waffle House is the new dinner theater. There is always a show.
Oh my gosh. They have the best grits. I love their grits.
Seriously,
I wouldn't even bother with the bacon.
It's delicious.
So good.
Well, they can really do
out the middle and just put that liquid butter right there.
I know. So delicious. How could they do this to hardworking people? How could this guy be so mean, disrespectful to the hardworking people at the Waffle House?
By the way, years ago, I covered another Waffle House story where the man assaulted the waitress because they had raised the price of the special by like a quarter. And he was outraged. Absolutely outraged.
Look, there's unfortunately, no shortage of Waffle House stories in sort of crime news over the years. So, some of the servers and the cooks there should probably get some hazard pay. But I think everybody knows and loves the staff there and their quality product, of course.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Throw the griddle at them,
That's funny.
Thanks, Owen. We'll see you next week.
Bye, guys. See you next week.
Well, Alison, that's our program, our episode this week. We didn't even get a chance to talk about musical theater. Alison and I went to the theater together last week.
And we are truly partners in crime. We had such a good time, didn't we?
Oh, we did. We saw everybody's talking about Jamie.
Which was great.
Fabulous at the Amundsen Theater here in Los Angeles. It was opening night and it was just such a treat. And this week also marks my 2nd anniversary here at True Crime Daily, the podcast. Woo! And I'm so glad, Alison, that you were able to join us today. And
I've never said this, but I have to say it for everybody listening. Ana Garcia is as lovely and wonderful and kind and decent of a person as you will ever meet. Her on-air, lovely personality is the exact same as her off-air one. She is just such a pleasure to be around and caring and compassionate. And she wants victims to be heard and to be respected and to get justice. And for that, Ana, I just love you for it.
Oh, you're making me so emotional. Thank you, Alison. That's so kind and so very unexpected.
It's true.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We love you here. And where can people find you on social media? Because you're also a consultant to so many programs as well.
Right. So I have my own law firm, law offices of Alison Triessl. I'm the legal expert at Access Hollywood, and I am the legal expert at KTLA.
And how can we find you on social media? Because you're everywhere.
I think it's at Alison Triessl.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that. You can find me at Ana G News, and you can find all our episodes, including this one, wherever you get your podcasts. We also want to make sure to thank HelloFresh for being our special sponsor and supporter of this podcast, and for supporting me with nutritious food. So catch this episode wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe to True Crime Daily, our YouTube channel. We've also got a newsletter at truecrimedaily.com. So until next week, I'm your host, Ana Garcia. And as we always say, don't do crime.